So guys, I have the privilege, the honor to be speaking, to be sitting down on the couch. Okay, we sit down on couches now and again, but not like this. My leader.
For yourself.
We're all to myself. What? Lord, I'm not worthy, but anyway. With my leader, the founder, the visionary, our leader, Mr. Hilton Peterson, aka WIF. Good afternoon, sir. How do you do?
No, I'm good, and you?
I'm well.
Holiday.
Yes, in short.
At least.
Like guys, we never get to see our leader like this. Like, because Galogo, he has to be that guy, serious.
Because I'm under pressure because of you guys.
Because of us.
Yes. I always want to look like you guys.
Okay.
I'm inspired.
You set the bar.
Yes. So that's why. So you're doing well.
Okay.
And I'm behind you, following.
The leader behind.
Yes. Following you.
That's beautiful. So 2021, a year. A lot has happened. We've experienced a lot this year. Like I was just sitting now and we were talking about this happening. We're like, oh yes. Because I don't know, it has been a long, short year. Like a lot has happened, but in such a short period of time. So we started off with Songwriting Retreat because now we have Repair, Rebuild, Restore, which is the vision that you announced on the 28th of November last year. So we started off with that because we're like, okay, this year we are doing an album.
Yes.
We had a Songwriting Retreat. We came up with brilliant, amazing, one of the best songs that I've heard to date. All composed, written by just collective members. And obviously, the big dogs. The big dogs of South Africa. But Sana, they're international. They're going international. Mr. Langa, Bonambi.
Yes.
Ntokozo, Babumbata, Kaya, Manana. Sure. Like big shots, guys. So we had the privilege to work with those people. So can you just tell us briefly, how was the Songwriting Retreat experience for you? Because we know you are, guys, WIF is an amazing songwriter. But like, he wants to be those ghost writers, those behind the scenes writers where he's like, okay, here's a song, but like,
you do your thing.
Yeah. Take it. So how was the Songwriting Retreat for you?
Songwriting Retreat for me was obviously in Witchpeer. I love going in. One of the reasons they are not available this year because of COVID reasons. Late in the year, I would have loved to do a launch of the album. But for me, the Songwriting Retreat was obviously, we have been doing, remember we had 3 before.
Yes, we had previously
3 we have done. And I think that was just a stepping stone for eventually then putting it down on paper. The training that I'm so honored by Langa that he gave us. And from that day, when even that first time around, when Langa and Janine came, Price, when they came and they just helped us, and Annie Smith and Louis Shaw, when they helped us with the first one.
Hi, my name is Langa Mbonambi. We just did a songwriting crash course, and we focused on the 3 essentials in songwriting, which are writing melody, it's about writing lyrics, and it's about also song structure. I think the main focus of the session was about writing from your context, is that we need songs from people's context, so that we're not all singing the same songs, but that we have a diverse range of songs, hearing different sounds, hearing different languages, hearing different perspectives of what God is doing in His church, particularly in this part of the world. So looking forward to hearing what comes out of that.
Hi, my name is TK Mavelane, and we just had a good session speaking about writing melodies for songs, and just how to stay authentic to the song in terms of the melody that we write. And I'd just like to encourage the Jesus Collective that they have a unique song, and that there's a specific sound that God wants to release through them, and that we don't need another Israel Houghton. Israel's great. We don't need another Bethel or Jesus Culture, but we need something that's authentic to this community. And I'd encourage you to just dig it out and present it to the world.
From there, I, as a child, always used to love to write love letters.
Okay.
Yes, and songs, and I used to do the Manhattan songs, copy it back, and then put it on a slip for someone. And so I realized that I always had a love for formulating words into a picture.
Oh, yes.
And so when songwriting came out, this one came, we went in hard because we knew that it was for the album. And the amount, for me, the quality, the type of songs that came from it was just amazing.
Yes.
We had two teams, Dark Roof and Rivers.
The rivers, yes.
The Rivers, because we were at the river.
Yeah.
And the big dogs was
Yeah,
at the
look at
Dark
looks
Roof.
like.
Hi.
Hey.
And I mean, still, there's, as you know, I think it would be on the second album, there's quite a lot of songs that we didn't even touch.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing just to have that experience of what it means and how to formulate and how to just write about our God, Yahweh, and just to see, I mean, if you think of a leaf, of a tree, of fruits, or whatever it is, and how it was formulated and how we were taught in this process of where do you start. It was just amazing for me. It is out of this world. It was out of this world.
So at the Songwriting Retreat, we write our songs and then we have like a chill session. So we have a lot of chill sessions, and I really appreciate those because I feel like that's where the unity then comes in within the team, because then you get to know a person on a personal level when you are more chilled versus when you guys meet on stage.
Yes.
But anyway, so we are chilling, and then camera guy comes through. Okay, guys, we're shooting pictures. What? All of a sudden, bah! On a billboard. Cape Town International Airport. What? Who am I? So can you just tell us like the story behind the billboard, us, like our faces being seen by everyone who comes in and out of Cape Town?
I think for me, it was everything, as you know, everything we do is Holy Spirit driven.
Yes.
It's Holy Spirit instructed. And I think, I don't know if you remember, when we did the billboard, it was exactly the time that Mavericks released their billboard in the US.
Oh, Maverick City.
Do you remember?
Oh, yes,
they
yes.
did it.
Oh, yes.
But we was before them. We were before them. So, but I think what that had to do, it was with the entry at the gates. Because I always drove past that particular billboard. And what I knew it represented was, remember, the scripts in that month, I think it was in February when we started it. Yeah. So when we started preparing for the billboard, the script at that time was, what we were speaking about was about groundbreaking barriers or something like that. Breaking barriers. It was breaking barriers. And so imagine now, we from, I don't know, you from? Khayelitsha. I'm from a little small town called Ashton. And so here we were, not on a paid billboard, but we were on something, you know what I'm saying? And it was just breaking a barrier. Do you understand? So for me, it was just a thing of, I love to work in the actual physical manifestation of something. So that was for me. I'm from Eastern, like I said, you from Khayelitsha, and if you do the maths right now, who of Khayelitsha has been?
Do your calculations, guys.
They should do it now. For some today,
for some tomorrow, for some next month, next year. But for now, it's me getting on the billboard.
And yeah, so that was the breaking barrier manifestation in the practicality of it. And that's why God said, so do it, so that whenever, it was nothing to do to be seen, it was nothing to, that was not the purpose behind the billboard. The billboard was, because many of our believers, we think that there's a manifestation, it should be supernatural. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But there's a supernatural, but there's a physical part. Faith without works, dead. So there was this physical part that God wanted us to come to be. If you drive past there you are I remember our dear friend Sipokazi when we drove and we stopped and she didn't know. I didn't tell her at all, nothing. I didn't tell SK. I didn't say about the billboard. I didn't say we were on the billboard. We landed and we drove and we stopped. And I looked in the car. She's like, "Why are we stopping?" And I said, "Sis, can you just chonga up?" And she looked out. And she didn't understand. She didn't
take note at the time.
Yes, she looked at the billboard, but she didn't think, like, who's that? And I pressed the button again for the computer to close it. And I'm like, okay, maybe a delayed response or maybe not so excited about it. Maybe she's been on one before. And we drove off. And we go off and she's like, "My brother, what was it that you showed me? Because I didn't really understand." I'm like, "Because I think you missed it."
You missed the moment.
You missed the moment. I think you didn't see you were on a billboard. No, my brother, turn around.
I'm sure you had to turn back. I'm sure you had to turn
all
back.
the way. I don't know which road that was. And we went left off, come back, back to the airport,
so she can see
back again, and then she show again. But she went on crazy. But that was the story behind the billboard. That was the story behind the billboard.
So speaking of groundbreaking, Songwriting Retreat, COVID has closed down most churches. We can't go to church. We can't have shows. So you as the visionary decide on outreaches. So we drive down to Ashton. We park our truck and we are just there worshiping, praise and worship. For me, that's like the groundbreaking where we are entering places where like those type of things are not happening. Like you just said now that I've never been on a billboard. You've never been on a billboard. You come from a small town. So now we are going back to those small towns for people to experience this thing. Like, it's not closed now. Christ is not closed. Jesus is not closed. Jesus is still here. So we're going back to the streets now to break those grounds, to break that COVID that is stopping people from seeing each other or from worshiping God. So can you just tell us what stands out for you about ministry and like that groundbreaking of going back to those small towns and giving people that hope that we can still do it, we can still fight, Jesus can still repair, rebuild, and restore even at this time?
Yeah, obviously for me, it was at the time when we had this thing where we went to Ashton, I think, was the first one.
Ashton was the first
now,
one.
what we went to do was, it was at the time when there was a hotspot area. And so what God was saying is that when there was the hotspot areas, the Holy Spirit was, when there was a hotspot area, we were assigned and mandated by the Father to go to those hotspot areas, to go and share the message of hope. And I remember the municipality at the time where I'm from was a bit difficult with me.
Yes, I remember as well. That
and
morning
so
we were waiting.
Yes, we were waiting, and so we had to change certain things. There's a good friend of mine, Mr. Evertson, and it was very difficult because obviously there's regulations, there's government gazette, and there's rules out, and all of that. And I was very discouraged actually after meeting with them. And so we had a meeting with the municipality, the municipal manager or acting municipal manager, and the mayor. And so we wanted to sit down and make a decision on, because we could not use the public areas. And as we left, because now we had which you guys didn't even know, we had a call that we couldn't use it. This is now
the day of
the thing, 12 o'clock. I remember we started late.
We were supposed to start at 10, I think.
We started at 10, yes, and then we started at 12, or 1 o'clock, I think. And we've still visited Robertson, Montague. I think we cut Bonnieville because we couldn't go there, and Ashton. And so that time we did only 3 towns. It was Robertson, Montague, and then we went to Ashton. And Solani, we did Solani.
Yes, but we did it later
on,
not
it was that later. Yeah, so
we did June 16.
It was June 16.
Yes.
So when eventually I left the place, as I'm going to my car, a lady, I will never forget, friend of mine. It was because we were working with SAPS. So SAPS, the police service, did not have an issue with us doing it. But obviously, the municipality didn't want us to use their public spaces. And as we're walking out, one of the policemen was born again guy. And he says to me, let me try this. Can we go to this one church? I think it was a Roman Catholic church in Robertson. And so we went to the church and we asked the lady there, and the lady was in charge, Auntie Pam. The lady was in charge. They spoke to their father, the priest, and then he said, use my space, because now when you're in their space on the truck, no one can stop you, you know. And so I mean, thank you for South African Police Services for walking that journey with us. And we went to all the churches. We went to Dutch Reform in Aston, the United, what is it, VGK, Aston with the Reverend Triple F. Toy. We used his premises. We got to the AFM church in Montague, Pastor Visser. We used his church, and so we set up inside the church. Inside the yard, we were 50 people. Outside was not our responsibility. But we have sound. And we had sound, and I believe that sound traveled. And we could,
into your home.
Into your home, and we could do by just releasing that sound. And that's where the 1 Samuel 16 came from. When an evil spirit was upon Saul, and he says, is there anyone that can play the harp? And then we just made the sound, and you know, we were watching those stats, and remember how those stats dropped significantly. And so I believe that we are scientists of God. There's many crowns. Remember what they spoke about. There's many crowns, and one of the crowns was a crown of fear that people had, and we just had the responsibility to bring the crown of faith, to believe. Yes, amidst people dying, amidst losing loved ones, we had to continue to believe that He still heals, that He still delivers, because the word says when Jesus comes back to the earth, will He still find faith in the earth? And then for me the highlight was, and then we went to Worcester. Another outreach, Pastor James David's here, Apostle James. And remember, we started off in the Dorings.
Oh yes, it was so far. Yes, I remember.
Yes. So we started off in the Dorings. We did one there, also a hotspot area, declared a hotspot area. We went there, and from there we went to inside. We went to Avian Park. We went to Riverview. We went to Rodeval. And Rodeval for me is where there was a lot of people.
The ones that were out of control.
Yes.
Like we got to a point where we're like, okay, whatever. Like guys, just come, because it's out of control.
We can't control it now anymore. And
we can't even tell people to social distance.
They are all, it was just difficult, And then we got a call that people has opened the hospital windows, remember? And there were just people just walking around because they could hear the sound. And they were just singing in the hospitals, and they just asked us not to stop, and we continued just to sing and to sing. And even there, the doctors in the hospital said, open the windows. And because they saw a significant change in the people while we were busy ministering on the stage. And so for me those were highlights that I really know, because it was tough, because I would travel and highly infested time, you know, and like I always said, when I get back home, my wife would say, isolate. And then I would be, you know, for 10 days in a room and not being able to touch your kids and hug them. And so that was the risk that we took. But God really kept us this year. Like, I mean, never ever were we, not even in that time, we were affected.
We weren't affected, yes.
We were never affected.
So not after, but in between those outreaches, we recorded Flow, Fearless Lovers of Worship, in Joburg. I think that was like a starter. You know, you get your meals, you get your starter, and then your main course. So now that was a starter to the actual album. So we all went down to Joburg to record Fearless Lovers of Worship. So can you just briefly explain to us why Fearless Lovers of Worship, and why we didn't just shoot straight to recording the actual album.
And I think I had a chat one night after, I don't know what it was, because we could not have any performances, but I'm just trying to think, but I know it was myself, it was Slayer, it was Ntokozo, it was Kaya, and Isipokazi. And we sat down, and one of the things that Slayer said is that, you know, the identity of a particular movement is important. So if somebody comes and says, who are you? You're supposed to be able to see, okay, this is who these people is. And at that time, when we go Jesus Collective, there was this confusion that you know, if Kaya sings, that are we his backing?
Oh, yes.
And is this Kaya's band in Cape Town? You know what I'm saying? So is Kaya Jesus Collective? Is he a Jesus Collective member? What is the situation here? Are these guys giving up their own identities?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to bring all of those confusion anymore. And so God says, okay, so this is who we are. That is actually, the show is actually supposed to be, this is who we are. It's actually, so the full name is, this is who we are. Fearless Lovers of Worship. Remember, that is what it is. So that is where we made an introduction of, and the history of where we come from. And that is the starter of whoever's not going to see in future, this is who we are. This is who we are. This is who Nompo is. This is who Max is. This is who, and so people can align now and identify with the start of a particular thing of the movement. So that was our identity of who we were, and who we are, and whose we are.
And whose we are.
I
love it.
So that is where we came and brought that together and did the Fearless Lovers of Worship.
Okay.
Because there's some songs on there that's not even
on the album, yes. And there are songs like, okay, yes, I get it now. So then we recorded that, and then we went to different churches now for the different Jesus Collective members. So how is it like for you seeing our homes, like where we come from, where we were raised spiritually now? Yes, the different churches of the members, how we do things different. I mean, how we do things in the churches versus when we come to Jesus Collective, and like being part of this ministry. So how was that experience for you?
I think that for even that one was, remember now, my responsibility, and that is what I always explain, is that, I mean, you started off, you said, my leader, you know, but there's foundations. There's foundations. And I did not build your foundation.
Yes.
You have your people that built your foundation. But I come and add a doorknob.
Yeah.
I come and add a window frame. I come and add the windows, the physical window. I come and add the electricity to your house, to your final work of the work in progress that God is busy with you. And so God came to me to say that I'm not, and that is one of the, also a reason of migrating the team. Because at the end of the day, I had a lot of obstacles of, the word says that my sheep will know my voice. You understand? And so there will be many times that I found myself trying to correct someone, but I did not have the authority or the power to correct it.
Yes.
And it will bring so much animosity, and it will bring so many uncomfortability in the team, because I realized I was not the right person to do that. So my thing was to meet the ones that laid the foundation, so that I can have, so that your Bishop Fino can also tell me, get feedback that, is it helping for you? Is it helping? Is it not helping? Where does he want me to, with yourself, with Onke, with Max, to either take the door away, or to alter, or to continue putting in doors because it's helping currently now for you, to keep the wind out, or whatever the case might be. For some today, for some next week. But what I'm saying is that is where that come when we started doing the church visits of all the members, so that I can meet the respective men of God and women of God of those people, so that they can also meet me, and to see, and also discern if I am a fluke, or if I'm on the right path, or am I doing God's will, because people discern, we all have spirits, you know what I'm saying? So I allowed myself, that church doesn't do anymore. I exposed myself to be scrutinized in that process. So that is why how that came about. I think one of the things was we also visited the churches of the intercessors. Yes, and so that was also the importance, because 3 intercessors has their own church: Pastor Apostle James, Apostle Needling, Pastor Harold, and Pastor John has their own church, Revive Family Church, and Apostle Needling them is the Revival Apostolic Ministries. And then we have Pastor Dion Harold, but you guys didn't come to that.
Yes.
You weren't there because you were at your church. So we visited also the intercessors churches.
Okay, Pastor James David. I think we're very familiar with that church. We visited often in Worcester, right?
Worcester, yeah.
Yes. So can you just tell us briefly the relationship you have with...
Which one?
No, not with each one. You can, but like the relationship you have with them and what role they play within the Jesus Collective.
Okay.
Because they are always here, like they're always with us. Like everywhere we go, we have our intercessors. So can you just explain the role that they play within the team?
I think for me, there was a time, because I had some, I don't know how, it's the only thing that I'm a bit confused of the kingdom, where we cannot work together, but we all one body, you know. So I just think there was just a kind of a situation where people might think that I was orphan and I was just pushing things, you know what I'm saying? So many things has happened. God has earmarked people in my life at the time, but through various instances, these people just faded. But I just think it was a season. And then God just brought new people. I always explain this: if you think that you are the best tither in somebody's church, by the time you want to show up for that pastor, God raises up a new tither. You get my point? So for me, I feel that I reached a time that God came to me and says, okay, I have to have a vehicle that I'm responsible for, and to, so that I can report to them. To say, not report to them, it's my vision, because what somebody says, it wasn't a conference call. Do you understand? It was one call. You get my point? So, but I had people responsible, because I realized every incident, every situation, I had to deal with it. And that became too much for me, because I don't have that broad shoulders to carry everyone's issues. And we started to create a memorandum, a code of conduct, and we have the code of conduct, and we got a system of the counseling, if I can call it that, of the issues of this. There was just people that we can talk to. Should we either financially struggle with something, we have to go to that person. Should you go to struggle with this, you go to this person. And so that is where that came about. So we have Dr. Van der Westhuizen, we have Apostle James, we have Pastor Harold, we have Pastor John, and we have Apostle Needling, and then obviously respectively with their wives. And so those, and then we have the church that my mom comes from, that I also have identified them. We have not engaged much with them, but was Brother Nicholas Stander. And then we have Pastor Alice and Pastor Dr. Alice, his wife, his father, Apostle Martin Alice, that came to us in the Dorings.
Yes, okay.
So those are the people that you know. I always say that if you know at least that there are 10 people tonight praying for you, then you know you're doing good. At least the state. You know, then you know there's 10 people intercede, because Jesus is an intercessor for us. And so intercessors is very much important. The prayers of intercessors is important. I cannot run this race if I don't have that in place.
Truly. So we then moved to actually recording the album now. So in preparation for the album process and all of that, what was the funniest moment for you while we were preparing for the album recording?
Funniest moments. The funniest moments is, there's a few, but one of the things was, as you know, we then bought ourselves techies, and we got.
I know where this one is going.
Yes. So we bought ourselves techies previous year.
Yes.
So when everyone is new, because now Brim came new.
Yes, this year.
From the songwriting.
Yeah.
This year. Yes. So he was complaining that he doesn't have these Adidas. And so now we go out to look for him.
Look for
Adidas.
him.
Yes. And again, Slayer saved his life. Because then we went to Adidas, could not find a size for him. And then Slayer said, go to the kiddies.
And he got a size 3.
Got a size 3.
A size 3 in the kiddies.
Kiddies.
Brenda is a size 3. A
Kiddies.
kid is size 3.
Kiddies size. I don't know, but I know it was a kiddies size 5. Size 5 kiddies. They don't make a size for Brim.
In the adult.
And there's no, not even in pens.
I saw that.
So that
Oh,
was, and that is something. And I remember, I don't know where we gave it to him. Oh, we had a ball over time.
Yo, and we get a lot of funny moments within that lodge. Hey? Yo, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we get a lot of our highlights when we are together.
Yes.
As a family, chilling, especially when we're preparing for the recording. We spent 2-3 weeks together at the lodge. So what was your highlight? Let's take it throughout the whole year. What was your highlight for the year, or highlights?
I think the highlight for me was when one of the highlights was Reno partner with us. It's one that we are so excited about.
Yes.
That Reno came and they partnered with us, and they said also, we haven't, because of COVID, we couldn't do any, not one thing yet together, but that for me was just massive. So we have Reno to Kite. Don't forget to go buy your Reno from Reno to Kite in Cape Town. And so they have a brilliant team of people there. We spoke to deal with the dealer principal, Hubbard, and we that for me was one of the highlights. And then obviously the ending of the album for me was also a highlight. And then the most important highlight of it all was for me is it has always been Souls.
Yes.
It has always been Souls will be highlight number one for me. And then just I remember in the time of doing the outreaches where for me it was always just the people coming to Christ and accepting Christ in a time of hopelessness. And the one thing of when we were there is the despair, the brokenness, the fear that you could see on the people's faces. I remember even when people wanted to come close to the sound, how scared they were. You know what I'm saying? But as the word says, in the presence of the Lord is the fullness of joy and liberty. And then you feel with the presence of God how that freedom just starts to be activated again in the human beings and whoever is there, and just listening to the music. And this one day when Pastor James just lifted up his hand and he just says, come. For me it was, I will never forget it, I think they played It's Gonna Be, It's Gonna Be. And then he prayed something. He says, he spoke of the mighty clay, and he says that one of the things I think it's actually on our YouTube page. He says that if you can just take this broken clay and put it back into your hands and fix the clay, and then send them out again. That for me. He said it in Afrikaans. And for me, that was so awesome. From that, one of the highlights that I heard, that God must just take the brokenness of the broken clay, put it back into his hand, form the clay again, and then give it, and then put it, and then repairing, and he says, and then pushes in, and then push it into the world again. So that for me was such an amazing experience, and the highlight of them all. 2021.
Yeah,
People accepting Christ.
Yes, and I think that's what we're about
Yes,
as well.
yes.
So back to the album.
Yeah.
Joburg, 3 weeks. Big dogs. Okay, cool. We know it was announced that Babumbata is going to be co-producer. We get to Joburg. Hey guys, I'm Dila from the States. What? What? All the way from United States of America.
Yes.
To record an album with us. And one of the things Max said was that there was a lot of unlearning we as vocalists had to do.
Yes.
Because we did things, like you grow up, you know how to sing and you just sing. But then we had to learn a lot from these two producers, these two major people in the music industry.
Yes.
We had a lot of unlearning from the
Familiarity.
Yes.
Familiarity.
That we know.
I'm the last one to give you training.
But it's fine. Yeah, so we learned so much from them. And I think even now, when we go back to our churches and do praise and worship, there's a lot of like
now you
techniques.
do the fixing.
What is it that I want to hear? Because Dilo was always like, I want to hear that cry. I needed you to put in that cry. So now when we're rehearsing within our team,
you also go.
We want those cries with us. We want that cry. Yeah, so it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
We got to work with such amazing people for such a long period of time. Because normally it's just like you meet a guy, you go in studio, they're like, okay, fix here and there, and that's that. But we actually got to spend time with them, and we're really grateful and thankful to you for that opportunity. Yes. So the album.
Yeah, for me, once again, thankful to
Yes, so bad.
Never would I. Everything there's a thing that I preached, spoke about. I never preached. So there's a thing that I spoke on was longevity, and I remember a song that I listened to by Mr. Mbata many years ago, and I never had a relationship with him, never spoke to him, but there was just a connection that God already, without being connected to me, that God has made with me, and even so, the relationship today with him and the wife, it's precious. The relationship today with him and Kaya is precious. The relationship with Claire is precious. The relationship with Ernie, Loisho, and whoever has been here before, it has always been precious. And I always will be in awe and in honor and in disbelief with what God is and the relationship God has blessed me with. But I remember when I always had this idea of he had to do it for us one day. And he availed himself after a chat with him. He availed it. But before that, even the enemy came to try and torn up the relationship. Sometimes we say it's the enemy, but also, about things that just was sticking out his head at that particular time. And we met, and I explained my side of the story, and we talked about it, and what a moment of being set free was that discussion even with him on that particular day. And so sometimes as men, sometimes for you as women, you have to identify people that can help you to be set free.
Yes.
Just the word says that the truth, who's the truth? Jesus shall set you free. And what a moment in one of my lowest times. He said, because when we did the album, we were in our low time. Remember,
we were.
we lost loved ones. We had
Like some people were coming from burying a loved one,
Yo.
and they were here. While they are here, they're receiving news that they lost a loved one.
huh?
So it was hectic.
Flow. We had
Flow.
Nederlands flying to a funeral.
Yes, the day
Max just
of.
came from a funeral.
And he was saying actually, when we spoke to him earlier, that he had to minister about restoration and a revival, whereas he has not even healed from the funeral that he came from.
Gosh. Lord.
And after the recording, we lose one of our members.
Hey.
So it was just.
Yeah, it was in a low time. So that's where I before we go there. And then I met Dilo one day when James Fortune then was in South Africa. And they were performing with the Chwane
Gospel Choir.
and we managed through I think Lois to get them to come to a friend of mine, also intercessor, Pastor Wayne Josias. Pastor Wayne Josias. We went to that church, and this is where I met Dilo, but we didn't even have a discussion yet. And then one morning I spoke to Spencer, and Spencer saying that they had been speaking, and the Holy Spirit just after that says, just get him here. And what an honor to have him here, knowledgeable, going into the producing field now, in space now. And so we part of that, building his career, we part of that, can I say, that resume. And we part of that. And was he not awesome here?
Yeah.
The lovely wife Bianca.
Yes,
Lovely wife
such a beautiful couple.
Yes, and yeah, we had Dilo here, and was it fun? Dilo was fun.
Dilo was fun. It was fun
Stack
working with
it.
you. Stack that.
So yeah, we I never enforce myself on people. I never force myself on people, but I believe that, you know, I always say this thing, like we will meet a lot of people, and we have over this years, you know, we have had Todd Delaney, we have had Jonathan Butler, we have had many people coming to minister with us and to us. One of the things is like, you know, when people leave, they, you know, when they see you, they're excited for you, excited with you, like, bro, we need to, you know. But I'm a person that I want to say it in a respectful way, because most of the people that has left and has been here with us has forgotten about us. You know what I'm saying? But the one thing that I do respect about Dilo is that he's not one of those guys. You know, he really, he said he will. I mean, he called for Brendan, he called Jason Nelson, he called some other drummer, and he made them speak to them, and it was such an exposure to the team. So big up for that, bro. And it was such an exposing time. It was such a highlight in a low time. You know what I'm saying? It was such a highlight in a low time, and yeah, then album came, and we prepared those 3 weeks, and I remember, like I said to you, now we had the build up to that at the time of doing it, and then we had at that particular time, Sipokansi could not make it because she was at her mother-in-law's funeral.
At the Songwriting Retreat.
She couldn't make it at the Songwriting Retreat. So when we got back, I said, Sipokansi, there must be a song that you, and then this is where she wrote Mercy. And then obviously we had the Friday, or in the week, she had a very rough week that week. The husband was almost hijacked the Wednesday night, remember? And like I said, it was just in a time of Max, Nederland's sisters losing their grandfather, Lindsay at the time when he was still part, losing his brother. We we were literally at funerals.
And you lost your grandfather
on the night of Flo,
Flo.
the morning of Flo. Then I even had my wife losing 2 uncles of hers in that year. So I would be here for our funerals, then I had to fly back for my wife's funeral the week after. So we were just in a space of funerals for that week, for that couple of 3 months, I think. And then up till now, it's the most tragic thing that has happened. I remember standing at Sipukazi's graveside and I looked at Isaac and I looked at Prince. I looked at Prince and I thought to myself, they're so small. And here's a woman that was so full of life. I was so confused. I was like, God, what happened? You know, and then the restore was restore, I think, because God said to me to announce every segment. So I first announced repair. I would say, this is now the season of repair. This is now the season of rebuild. And this is now, and where the restoration was announced was when we were past the Herald's Church. And this is where Sipukazi SK had an encounter, a beautiful encounter that we all, I think we were still teasing, where she was standing between Pearl and while I was busy, I think Spencer was busy saying, we trust in horses, some trust in chariots, but we trust in the name of the Lord. It's also our song that has been recorded it. And Sipukazi was, and as he sang it, and I said, this is the season of restoration. Pearl goes, lift up her hand, and then you just see Sipukazi flying there in the corner. And then still Lloyd, well, this is one of my highlights. And funny moment. And then Sipukazi fell down. And then Lloyd came to check if she still got pulse. And then Lloyd came and checked if she still has a pulse, and see that was our last session with the intercessors, and Pastor Harold then take us to this beautiful place to eat. Some up there in St. Lowry's Pass, idiom, and so here came the recording, and she wasn't well, and then she went to sing, and one of the amazing things that I again look at it. So if somebody looks at the video today, nothing of that video of her singing could be fixed, changed. I don't know what they call it in their terms, because she was not there to do it.
Yes.
No overdubs. Nothing. That what she delivered was on that night. And for me, she was just, like I said in previous interviews, she was just an amazing anchor in this group. We started in 2013. And then came the Monday, because that Saturday morning we had to fly for Veronica's dad, and the brother the Saturday, the father the Sunday, and we flew to Cape Town. I remember Veronica asked me to say something, and the one thing that Holy Spirit led me to sing was the song, "Where He leads me, I will follow." And what I was saying is that no matter where God leads you, no matter what it is, there's a bunch of water, overflow, we still need to follow. And the Monday when we got back, because I couldn't reach her. I tried calling her, but I couldn't reach her at all over the weekend. And the Monday when we got back, I spoke to the sister, and I'm like, hey, I'm struggling to get hold of her. And then around about 6 o'clock, we just got a call that she's struggling to breathe. And me and Pastor Zapsta and Pastor Mel, obviously, and I told Slay, and she rushed through and we got to the house, and when I got to the gate, I just heard Pastor Mel says that we just lost it. It was, I mean, yeah, there's that word.
Yeah, that was a great loss too. It was a big loss for both of us.
To see somebody so lifeless, that, you know, that I was speaking in the week and I was just thinking about Peter, and the people say that Peter has from what Afrikaans called, when he denied Jesus 3 times. And I said to somebody, is that if you're not in the character of these people, now Peter did not only see Jesus as flesh, but he also saw him as a superman, as a supernatural being. Because one of the things he says that Jesus says, I have to go back to, I don't know where he wanted to go, but he had to go back to the city. And the word says that they said that they were going to kill him there. Peter said, there's no one, you can't be killed. You know. And when he says, I don't know him, people don't understand from what place he was speaking. He was actually saying that the man that I knew cannot die. You get my point?
Oh.
So that is when he said, I don't know him.
I don't know this
This
man.
guy I don't know. And when I stood that night, I looked at the body and I said, Father, this can't be her, you know. I said, it can't be her because, you know that us as believers out there, not here, man, you know. Yeah, since my mom, it was after that, with all the death, my grandfather's sister, my grandfather said something when he passed, and he said to me, he could not speak, but the only words that he could say was, be strong, be strong, be strong. That's all he said. And then when everyone comes in the room, then but when everyone goes, he goes, be strong. He was dancing in Saldanha, week after that gone, 2 weeks after that gone. So I've realized that in the time is that to live is Christ, to die is the gain. Because when I wanted to go that Sunday morning to him, the enemy says, your father can make sure that, but now it's church. And the Holy Spirit just goes and says, church, to live is Christ. You know, even if your grandfather dies, it's okay. But to love is Christ. It's about Christ to love.
Yes.
So then we had Chipokazi and we had the funeral, which was very tough. And what a beautiful send-off we had. And then one of my, now you must remember, that was low and a sad moment. But before that, on the 8th of May, I lost my pastor that married me. Pastor Eddie, my mentor, my leader, my role model. I can't think what I was saying. So I also lost him. And he's in Australia. Up till now, today, I haven't been able to. And that's for me the toughest. And then God reminded me of his storm. And he said the following, he says, that Job lost his first family, but he was restored with a new family. So that the restore that we speak of is even people dying, but we will be restored with new family. And the new family is the part that we are now starting to see God bringing into our lives, new family, to take you to the next level of our ministry, of our gifting, of our purpose. I was saying this morning to my wife, I said that that, you know, in your life, if you have a friend and it's aligned with the purpose of God in your life, that friend, if you treat the friend bad and he leaves your life, you won't get another best friend like that again. Because why? He was aligned with the purpose of God in your life. So there can't be two guys of the same purpose.
Yeah.
You get my point? So that is just where I just find myself right now in this time with all of this happening of the restoration in the year just then makes sense.
We are prepared about restoring.
So, yes.
Okay, so 2022, what can we look forward to? What has God said? What has the Holy Spirit said to you?
2022. I think today I was just sitting down and God said to me, the Holy Spirit said to me to get a remember the old Toyota, an old Opel?
Oh, yes.
That was first Tava's vehicle. And
The one Bren was driving recently.
Yes. Now remember who got that? Who had that? Ashwin, Jason, and Bren.
Originally from Tava. Was he the first owner even?
Yeah. So God gave me, I've never been so emotional about repairing a car. God gave me a instruction to respray the car, fix the car. Okay. So I sent it to Yas and Kenny. They took it to a friend of Yasri, and it was done. Today I get the pictures, took this in the morning. And while I sat outside on the balcony, I saw a restored Opel. And I realized, wow, versus what it looked like and how it looks now. The engine you can't see, but the engine was done new. The gearbox was changed. Look at, I'm going to shock you now. The repair of this vehicle was done by the panel beater. Is panel beating making sense?
Yes.
It was done by the panel beater. The dent was knocked out, makes a sound and is loud. I'm just thinking now of a car. Take it to a human being.
You're broken down.
Broken down.
Sure.
Then he fixes it up now, rebuilds it. Take all the dents out.
Yes.
Then comes the spray painting. Now he sprays it the first color, and then the next color. Then after the second coat, it goes where? Into an oven.
To be baked.
To be baked with heat. Repair, rebuild, and restore made sense 100%.
Yes.
Then now, the final product, still the same car, same engine, same made wheels, nothing changed. But the restoration, you would never say it was the same car. Still the same car, but you would never say it's the same car. So this car now has been transformed.
Oh, okay, sir.
You see how this thing links up.
Yes.
We had to be repaired.
Yes.
We had to be rebuilt. We
We
had to be restored in order for us to qualify to be transformed,
Sure.
to acknowledge and experience opportunities, to everyone to see that we are on the other side.
Cut the cameras, guys. We're done. Like we're done. Yeah.
And so 2022 is about the transformation. Not the transformation of the renewing of your mind, not only that, but also of the one in Ezekiel 36, where he speaks of that he will turn our hearts of stone into a heart of flesh. It says so that we can benefit and see the glory of God. Opportunities will be two parts. It will be opportunities that God will give us for 2022, but also for us the opportunities to showcase God, get people to acknowledge God, accept God, we will bring an opportunity to people to be healed, to be delivered, to be set free. We will bring that opportunity. At the same time, while we're busy with God's business, God will take care of our business. Then we go. Other side is, it is nothing deep. I said to Wesley, nothing deep. It's about what the word says. John 6:1, he says, and after all of these things, Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. So after all of the repair, rebuild, the restore, not done, the transformation, and the opportunities, we will go to the other side.
Sure.
COVID is done.
It's done, son. It's done. There's no more space for COVID.
No more. But there are lots of people in this time that will have to start to walk and learn the walk of faith again. Because they served fear for almost 2 years.
2 years.
And they have to now relearn to walk the walk of faith.
Sure.
And so we were privileged to continue the walk of faith. It was battered, there was boisterous winds, but we did not waver. We did not waver. We weren't shaken. Yes, and the other day, I'm the first one to say that God does not see and worry about feelings. You know what the Holy Spirit said to me the other day? He said, but you remember, don't you know, that my son was also flesh? He said, so why did I? So I never had a scripture I never had a scripture to reference why I'm saying that God doesn't do feelings. He's not worried about our feelings and what we had to endure. But God says to me, that's why I brought my son as a human being to experience all. So now there's no time for feelings anymore. Is there anybody that can suffer worse than Jesus?
There's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way.
You know what I'm saying? So, my thing that I say to you for 2022 is, we will be transformed. We will see the opportunities in whichever form. And we will be taken to the end. 2022 is going to be amazing. For those who never wavered, who never gave up, who, you know what, I'm scared for those, because there's still people that believe it like us, that's not lost a loved one, that never got sick, that never was affected, and to them maybe
they weren't broken down.
Oh God! And so sometimes, you know what we do is we say, when all of these things happen to you, people sometimes say that you're far from God. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe God is not in it.
Yes.
You get my point. Or maybe God is not with us. But the word that God gave me, he says to me, even Peter, when he walked on the water, risking to get out of that boat. Same Peter that denied him. He got out of the boat. Why did he walk on the water? Because he saw Jesus.
Jesus is there.
And so when he said, come, he knew Moses. This is the Superman that I know here. The supernatural powers that he has. So I'm going to walk. And when he sunk, the word says he reached out his hand and God helped him. So what happens? When we are in these storms, we are always, people say that you are far from him, but I'm telling you today that when things are rough in your life, you are the closest to the Father than what you think. You get my point? You're not far from him. And so a lot of people think that you are far from God when all of this hell breaks loose. But you are actually close to him. You are in a reaching out of his hand. So, I await. And my new year are not determined by the 1st of January, but by the renewing of my mind. And I have renewed my mind to say, I'm already in transformation, in the year of opportunity. You got it. I'm already on the other side. I've been repaired, I've been rebuilt, and I've been restored. You know, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have done without my family. I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, I've been on a stage with my son struggling from croup. You know, I've been traveling with, like this family, the holiday is me connecting with my sons again. It's me connecting with the family again. It's me for all the sacrifice, the time throughout the year. And it's amazing how God, because God just continues to bless, God just continues to cover, God just continues to give us hope. And for us here, we just need to know that God has seen our pain, He's seen our tears. And the scripture that I know that God has given us, I just want to read it, is when I spoke last year about this, wow, our God is, as how Jesus Collective started was on, remember I said, on the evil spirit that came and then they looked for somebody to play music. Now this scripture that for this year will be 2 Kings 3:15-20, and it says, now bring me someone who can play the harp. While the harp was being played, the power of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he said, this is what the Lord said, this dry valley will be filled with pools of water. So this year, while we make the sound, dry valleys will be filled with pools of water. When the scripture goes further, it says, and wind and rain will not be depending on the waters that will come. It will just come. We will need nothing. We don't need many things, but just to play and make the sound. That is still rain, that is still delivers, that is still heals. And that's it. Can we end it before? Our time is up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peterson, for the entire vision. Thank you for Chills Collective. I think I am one of the people who was also repaired, rebuilt, restored this year. And I'm definitely with you that I'm crossing over to the other side to be transformed and also experience the opportunities. Yes, so thank you so much for every word said, for all the declarations. And guys, let's cross over to the other side.